the American people stand firm in the faith which has inspired this nation from the beginning. We believe that all men have a right to equal justice under law and equal opportunity to share in the common good. We believe that all men have the right to freedom of thought and expression. We believe that all men are created equal because they are created in the image of God. From this faith, we will not be moved.
Hello, God bless America, and welcome to the Freedom of Thought podcast. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Freedom of Thought is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps featuring Spotify. Thank you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. This is more than likely going to be a shorty, and I'm going to probably save the mailbag for a later show because just want to kind of address things a little bit, kind of obviously get a show out and get some opinions out about how the situation with Israel and all that, and the ongoing corruption with Biden, and I don't know, and the radical left with their constant rants, and I don't know, the hypocrisy of the left, no doubt about it. And of course the local media, the national media, completely ignoring what the radical left is doing with their quote-unquote insurrections in the Capitol and such, harassing and, just taking over the place and basically, creating a huge ruckus, basically, and chanting for Israel to ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now. Rashida Tlaib, I mean, it's just a big, she's nuts. She's just, she's basically inciting violence, inciting riots. And it just continues to go everywhere. What was it, like a loud speech in New York City last week, not from Tlaib, but from other leaders in the Muslim world, basically saying they're taking over. And, that with the God of Jesus, the God of Muhammad, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, I don't know. I just don't think it's their place. I don't think it's anybody's place to come in the streets and yell out that that we're basically taking over. We're going to take over everything, obviously. But, especially after what the Hamas did to Israel. And the whole hypocrisy for me is, how can you say Israel needs to cease fire when Hamas was the group that attacked Israel in the first place? They killed thousands of people. Thousands. And you're telling Israel to cease fire? It's just, who's the one that attacked? Who attacked who? So, I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. So, naturally, it's not about like, oh my God, we got to take sides and start a huge war and start World War III, this and that. I'm not a fan of, I'm not a fan of that idea, starting World War III, but to tell Israel to cease fire after what Hamas did, how can you honestly say that with a straight face? I think it's just obviously complete bias, of course, and again, just taking the side of Hamas, honestly. And of course, Rashida Tlaib is going to do that. Of course she is. And of course she's going to scream and yell. And of course, put out false, jump on a false story about a hospital being bombed when it hadn't. And that Israel bombed a hospital and hurt children, women and children or whatever of the Muslim faith and such, or of Palestinian anyway. That Israel had no right to do that and this and that, when it never happened. It never happened at all. Yet she's out there screaming and yelling and basically starting riots and such about such a thing. And it's just unbelievable. So again, that's just kind of getting this off my chest right now. I'm out walking on a beautiful night, Thursday night, October 19th, 2023. That's basically what I'm doing right now. Same park, Golden Valley, that I hang out around. So that's pretty much the case here. Obviously, I apologize for the lack of shows of late. and such. Just obviously ongoing busy schedules. Had to get some other shows out as well that are kind of like hardline type of situations they need to get done. So I apologize for that. Also the fact that I'm married to a wife that doesn't like politics, and if she, it's like she hears me, ranting and raving about this and that, she'd probably go nuts. So that's kind of the situation here. So just again, my ongoing apologies for, again, my lack of visibility, my lack of being around. So, I'm always thinking about you out there. I really appreciate every one of you that listen to this show and care about it, and, obviously care about this country. Obviously have a heart for the Lord. And, again, at the end of the day, when it comes to war and this and that, I'm a paleoconservative. The days of being a neocon are long, long gone. About 20 years ago, a little less than that, 15-ish years ago, 16 years ago, I was done with my days of being a neocon, you could say. 16 years ago, you could say it was around that time. So, where it's just, I don't know, they're just war hawks, and you just learn more and more about the neocon crowd, one way or another, to make money and take advantage of the system, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. It's pretty evil, honest to God, and I feel that's exactly what's been happening with the Biden administration, the Bush administration, both Bushes, of course. It's basically the last good president we had outside of Trump was Ronald Reagan. And he had George H.W. Bush as a vice president, who was, in a lot of ways, running the deep state side of things, and was kind of sort of keeping Ronald Reagan in line, so to speak, especially with the fact that Ronald Reagan, there was an assassination attempt on his life at the very beginning of his administration. Like, funny how that happened. And, do it with research and such, possible ties to H.W. Bush, similar to possible ties to with what happened with, obviously, John F. Kennedy many years before with Lyndon Baines Johnson. And we all know what happened with Lyndon Johnson with the Great Society, and how he wanted he was going to have these N-bombs, he used the N-word, vote for the Democrat Party for the next 100 years. And unfortunately, it's kind of what's been going on. So that was kind of like his goal, so to speak, along with the rest of the Democrats at that time, or a big chunk of the Democrats during that time. Going down a rabbit hole, but that's kind of how it is on freedom of thought. Yeah, and it's just a shame, the corruption, the dishonesty in this world, and how it just, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be, it's not going away, obviously. There's no guarantee that even if Trump gets in office that things are going to get so much better. It's like you might tell, the deep state, so to speak, the New World Order will maybe take 2 steps back after taking 10 steps forward in the Biden administration. Just like 10 steps forward in the Obama administration. It took maybe 2 or 3 steps back with Trump, but definitely they were very noticeable steps. That was the good part. It's just the fact that there's so much junk in Washington, no matter what you do, no matter who's the president or who's your governor or this or that. Ugh, don't get me started on Tim Walz in Minnesota, of course. They're very limited. Trump was very limited at what he could do. Reagan was very limited at what he could do. Kennedy was very limited at what he could do. And of course, Kennedy, not everything he did during his presidency was perfect. Of course, Reagan wasn't perfect. Of course, Trump wasn't perfect. But taking prayer out of schools was definitely, the beginning of the end of this country in a lot of ways when when Kennedy did that many years ago. So it's a darn shame. In fact, that may have been the protection, the Lord's protection, leaving, I keep calling him Ronald Reagan, John F. Kennedy at the time. That could have been part of what led to terrible events later on, unfortunately. So I don't want to speculate too much on that right now. That's between Kennedy and God, I suppose, at the end of the day. But no, I mean, back to Israel in a lot of ways. Again, I do stand with Israel. I do support Israel. I'm not going to go into rallies in the streets yelling and saying, bomb this, bomb that, or whatever. I'm not the kind of person that does that. At the end of the day, obviously I stand with Israel. Obviously what Hamas did was evil. It's criminal. It's murder. There's no doubt. I mean, how you can just say I'm not taking sides is kind of crazy at the end of the day. But at the same time, I'm not hoping for a huge war. Obviously, in the Bible, something's going to happen at some point. There's the Ezekiel war, Ezekiel 38 war, that is. Eventually Gog and Magog, and eventually Armageddon. How close are we to the tribulation and all that? Obviously the rapture, this and that. How close are we to all of that? Don't know. We shall not know the day or the hour. Only the Father knows. Not even Jesus, the Son of God knows. Only the Father. Think about that. So it's amazing stuff. Only He knows, the actual Father. So put that into perspective, and I guess, just keep praying. Pray for Israel. Pray for America. Pray for America. Obviously, we want to pray for our borders. We want to pray for the leaders of Minnesota to, obviously, if there's no attitude of coming around, that they need to go away. Obviously, you want to pray that the Ilhan Omars of the world, she's another one who's been basically saying Israel's creating genocide, basically. They're committing genocide, basically. That's basically what she's saying. And it's like, excuse me, who attacked who? Ilhan Omar. Of course she's going to take that kind of point of view. 100%. And the fact that citizens of Minneapolis voted for her are disgusting. Obviously, there's been an influx of Somalis. Eventually, maybe Somali Americans as they're born and such. But there's been an influx of Somalis for many, many years into Minneapolis. So that's kind of been part of the plan forever, I'm sure, about quote-unquote taking over this and that for many years. So it's not overly surprising that she might have a chance at the win. But what's pushing her across the finish line is the latte liberals out there. The latte liberals in the nice neighborhoods or whatever neighborhood. Just can't you see her for what she is? Can't you? That she hates this country, that she hates you. Can't you see her for what she is? Can't you see? Are you kidding? She does not love this country. She does not stand for this country. She does not stand for you. She hates you. So why the heck would you vote for her? Just because Trump hates her, like Patrick Royce, a local sports columnist, said. Actually lives in this very town. In fact, he probably he lives close enough to me that we vote at the same precinct because I've seen him there. And I was like, I wanted to walk up to him and say, I'm canceling your votes because I'm going to vote exactly the opposite he's voting. Because, he's going to vote all D down the whole list. It's kind of funny. And he'd probably reply, well, I'm canceling yours. So it's like, well, put it that way. At least I'm canceling his, I suppose, at the end of the day. So I'm your defense of Patrick Royce here in Golden Valley, Minnesota. At least this western part of it, you could say, or whatever. Yeah, what's northwestern part of Golden Valley, basically. You could say more northern part of Golden Valley, not northwest. Yeah, interesting stuff. So I think I've said my piece for the most part. I hope, I don't know. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer to Halloween. The sky starts really lighting up, with all the cool stars, the fall stars. I can see the Pleiades right now. Those Pleiades, where it's the seven sisters, basically. It's not really seven sisters, but it's seven blue stars. Something that starts with an A. I forget how to pronounce it. It's a red star. It's like an imaginary prince that's chasing the seven sisters, because he wants them, that kind of thing. Like an Arabian prince, I think it was. The big red star. Yep, he's a little further down. You got Capella off in the northeast sky at this time of the year. Big giant Jupiter shining right in my face, almost directly east of me right now. Yep, pretty cool though. Pretty cool. So there's obviously, fall is fun for the most part, as long as it isn't too wet, as long as it doesn't get too cold, this and that. I just don't like the darkness in the morning, but that's up to you, I suppose, at the end of the day, how you feel. Sports can be a nice distraction, I'm sure. Yes, they can. Unfortunately, the NFL constantly brings one propaganda thing after another. I'll probably wrap up the show with one final thought here, one final rabbit hole to go down. Travis Kelce, oh my God, what a propagandist he truly is. He is a propagandist, no matter how you look at him. Taylor Swift, what good is she for any sports fan? She's nothing. She's nothing to a sports fan, other than, I guess, if you like her music, which, not sure what you're drinking or smoking, but the only thing I can say about it, it's there's only one type of music that might be worse, and that, well, not might be, that is worse. That's hip hop and rap. I just know, especially modern stuff. It is unlistenable. It's agonizing to listen to. Makes me sick. But Taylor Swift's music makes me sick also, in a different way. In her style of music is garbage. And for the NFL to constantly propagandize Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift as if Taylor Swift needs more attention, which is really disgusting. As if Travis Kelce needs more attention. He is the most exposed player in the NFL outside of his teammate Patrick Mahomes. He's like in every commercial. I think he's even more exposed than Patrick Mahomes. Just think about it. Here I go talking sports, but I'm not really. It's the propaganda side. Freedom of thought side of Travis Kelce here. Not the Purple Mafia host, but the freedom of thought host. Talking about Travis Kelce. Obviously, roll up your sleeves and all that. That Pfizer for COVID and flu shots. It's unbelievable. Like, why? Why? There was a time not that long ago Travis Kelce was thought of as maybe like a moderate conservative type of guy. Like blue-collar, moderate conservative guy from Cleveland, Ohio. Then all of a sudden he comes out, he just turns out to be the biggest jerk ever after winning the NFC Championship game by the skin of their teeth over the Cincinnati Bengals. Makes a complete ass of himself on the camera, taunting the Cincinnati Bengals. And then does it again after they win by the skin of their teeth, them being the Kansas City Chiefs over the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. They won by the skin of their teeth, and he acted like they're the best thing in the history of the world, and everyone who doubts them should st blankety blank, you know, and that you doubted us, and da. Nobody is doubting you, okay? I just don't want you to win because I don't like you at all. You're a jackass. So, but then it's like, but then all these corporations follow up by having him as like a spokesperson. State Farm, what the heck? What are you doing, State Farm? Bud Light, yeah, that figures, considering what Bud Light represented much earlier in the year. Pardon me for the background noise. Yeah, getting in the car now. Yep, Pfizer. Oh, that figures. You got to have him to propagandize that. Oh, boy. Damn it. I apologize. Pad. Yeah, it's pad. Okay. You want some Paz? Paz-shaped? Sorry. But no, of course he's going to propagandize for Bud Light. He's going to propagandize for Pfizer. So, I don't know. I almost just say boycott Kansas City Chiefs games as much as possible. That's what I'd recommend. You know, especially if you don't want to support all the crap he's supporting. What's the other commercial? Hy-Vee. It's just too much. I've never seen a player this exposed. Like Shaquille O'Neal's in a lot of commercials, but he's fun. Where Travis Kelce is a complete jackass. Like Shaq was a jackass occasionally, but not all that much. Not all that often, just sometimes. So, I don't know, just extremely frustrating at the end of the day for myself as a sports fan. And just in general, extremely frustrating. Almost had a stare there for a second, but my apologies. So with that said, yeah, this went longer than I was even thinking I was going to do. So my apologies. Again, I'll get to the mailbox on the next show. Maybe I'll do another one on the weekend. Hopefully, depending on scheduling and such. Until next time, though, God bless you and God bless the United States of America.